Welcome, everybody. This is Che Ritter, Division Director of the Division of District Support. I'm going to do a very short introduction and provide some updates on a few things, and then we're going to get right to the training. We're doing this training today to hopefully reach out to as many people as possible on the BG1 process. And as a reasonably new director, one of my, goals or task, if you will, is to help districts understand the facilities process a little better. And that's where our DFB, our district facilities branch, comes into play. This is the first training they've done, I think, since last July. We're going to try to do more and more frequently bits of training and also smaller chunks of training to help with the DFP process, the BG1 process, and all kinds of things that revolve around facilities. But one of the other tasks we started to talk about a couple months ago, and we're slowly trying to ease into it, is to create a task force to review the facilities processes. And this includes everything from purchasing land to doing renovations, the planning manual, the construction manual, all the regulations. It's a pretty big task. There's a lot of nooks and crannies involved in facilities, as some of you may know. But this task force we're going to try to put together within the next month or so and come up basically with some recommendations, and then we're going to float those out to as many groups as possible. It could obviously include school districts, architects, fiscal agents, co-ops, as many people as we can to kind of get some eyeballs on these recommendations and see what works best for everybody. And our goal is to, not break the process and not radically change it, but to smooth it out a little bit. And it's been, frankly, quite a long time since there's been a facilities task force. And I think Greg can tell you more specifically, but I think it's either 2006 or 2005. I can't remember, but it's been quite a while. So it's kind of overdue that we want to look at how things work and hopefully make everything better for the districts and everybody involved. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jody to talk about the process in which you can ask questions.
Good morning. This slide that you are viewing represents how to use the Q&A feature in Microsoft Teams. Please make sure that you enter your name when asking a question. Anytime during the training, you can type a question into the Q&A feature. At the end of the training, we will attempt to answer as many questions as time allows. After the training, we will distribute a frequently asked questions list to address any questions that we are unable to get to. Questions should be directed toward the training material. If you have a question specific to a construction process or project, please contact your KDE project manager. And now I'll turn the training over to Greg Dunbar, KDE Facilities Branch Manager, to commence with the training.
Thank you, Jody, and thanks to all of you who've joined us this morning. Today's presentation is entitled Session 1 for Fact Pack, Phase 1, Part 1, Fact Pack. We'll discuss in detail later. Is intended to be 5 phases and encompasses most of the work areas that Che described that we administer. Next slide, please. We've been asked to prepare this series of presentations based on input from superintendents, to Commissioner Glass and Associate Commissioner Robin Kinney to address issues and those that we routinely face in our administration. So today's training is going to focus on the basics of 702 KER 4160 capital construction process and Fact Pack, which is the system through which capital construction projects are administered. It will address completeness and accuracy, which are the 2 primary reasons that BG1s are returned to districts as incomplete. We'd like you to know that we do not like to return BG1s because we understand that doing so may result in delay until the district's next board meeting. So, District Facilities Branch is the work area in KDE that provides the statutory oversight required by KRS 162060, which is up on the screen. And it requires all plans and specifications for new public school buildings and for all additions or alterations of old school buildings be approved or disapproved in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Kentucky Board of Education. Next slide, please. So 702 KR 4160 is the regulation that promulgates this statute. No Board of Education may award a contract for the erection of a new building or a contract for an addition or alteration of an old building until a plan has been approved. As Jay mentioned, we also administer regulations regarding district facility planning and real property. Next slide, please. Sort of a general housekeeping item. When we kindly request that when you correspond with us by email that you identify your district in the reference line. If a BG number has already been assigned to your project, please include that. We try to keep files by district and by project, and doing this would assist us in keeping our correspondence filed correctly. Next slide, please. What is a BG1? Well, a little historic factoid. The BG designation came about when the Department of Education's facilities work area was buildings and grounds, hence BG, and that has stuck through many years. An initial BG1 is a project application form that's submitted by a district requesting approval of a capital construction project. It contains basic information regarding the project, the facility or facilities which are included, the scope and the estimated cost of the work, and the proposed funding sources. I'm going to take a little diversion from what's on the slide to say we've discussed various fund sources normally associated with Kentucky's public school construction in a training session last year and in other previous training sessions, but I think a quick recap is appropriate. We generally look at funds as being either restricted or unrestricted. Restricted funds consist essentially of three different buckets: SFCC escrowed cash, SFCC bond, and SFCC residual cash from a previous project. All these funds are to be used for a project in the highest priority on the district's current district facility plan. FSPK bond funds and residual cash from a previous project can be used on projects in priorities 1 through 4 on the district facility plan. Capital outlay cash and building fund cash are to be used in projects in priorities 1 through 4. Unrestricted or general funds can be used for any project in any DFB priority or for a project that's not on a district facility plan. Recently, 2 additional fund sources have become available: school security funds, and they are restricted in the sense that they must be used to address requirements of Senate Bill 1, 2019. There are instructions on KDE webpage for doing this. Another fund that has recently come available are the ESSER 2 funds. They will be considered general funds, but they're to be used for projects which address mitigating the spread of COVID-19 in schools. You should expect guidance from KDE about these soon. Next slide, please. Just talked about an initial BG1. A revised BG1 is submitted when the information provided on the initial KDE approved BG1 or previous KDE approved revised BG1 changes. On the BG1 form, there's a section called Reason for Revision. When revised BG1s are submitted, they should be checked for the appropriate cause. And the causes are listed on this slide, which is screenshot from the BG1 form. Next slide, please. What is BG1 required? Section 2 of KR, or 702 KR 4160 addresses this, but a summary is that A BG1 is needed if the proposed construction of a new building, addition, or alteration of existing building. It requires design by a design professional for a building or a building system. What that means is that KRS 322 and 323 require licensed design professionals for any public work that involves the practice of architecture or engineering as defined in these statutes. The second bullet point is proposes a major renovation. A major renovation is defined as a minimum of 3 building systems or 20% of the cost of the replacement of the building. For a minor project, a minor project is basically anything that's not a major project. Or, next slide, propose a guaranteed energy savings contract, often referred to by the acronym GESC. And there's a little discrepancy between FACPAC process and the regulation at this point regarding the BG1 and the letter of intent. But FACPAC provides a document library to which any information regarding a project can be attached, and consequently having a BG1 created would allow us, or allow a district, to attach a letter of intent so that we can have an appropriate location to put all communication. When you propose a project that's funded by restricted funds, we just talked about those funds earlier, Capital Outlay Building Fund, FSPK, or SFCC. And most importantly, BG1, although not explicitly stated in the regulation, is needed for projects that address reported need on the district facility plan. BG1s and DFPs are essentially joined at the hip based on the reporting that we're required to do to the legislature. I'm going to introduce to you Denise Hartsfield, who is our current FACPAC administrator, to get into the bulk of our presentation. Again, thanks for being here this morning. Denise, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, everyone. If we could have the next slide, please. And the next one. Okay, what is FACPAC? FACPAC is the acronym for Facilities Planning and Construction. It's a Microsoft SharePoint-based system used for document submittals and project accounting purposes. Now, FACPAC contains information regarding forms related to capital construction, your BG1, your BG4, 5, contracts, purchase orders, change orders, and all the documents associated with them. FACPAC also has your project document library, and that contains other project and construction documents. Those are uploaded to my document submissions. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Who has access to FACPAC? Our district superintendents, finance officers, and facilities directors have access to FACPAC. Whenever there's any changes in positions, or if anybody else at the district needs access, just give us an email with their name and their email address, and we'll get the appropriate changes made. Next slide, please. Third-party access to FACPAC. Architects, construction managers, fiscal agents, any third party needing access, they're given access to each project by the district. Now, new third parties can request access. Just send us an email with all your information. We'd be glad to get you set up. Now, third parties have access after the initial BG1 is approved. They cannot create an initial BG1 or BG5, but they can do all the other activities in FACPAC. Next slide, please. Okay, FACPAC user guide. We have a detailed user guide on the homepage, and you'll see the homepage there. I highly recommend that you print it and then use tabs for your sections. That just makes it so much easier to find information there to help y'all out. Let's see, you can see your home page here. And on the far left, there's categories you can go into. Then in the middle, you've got your FactPack forms. And then on the right, you've got My Document Submissions. And that's where you upload documents. Also, you'll notice the Create Project button right there in the middle. Next slide, please. Okay, FactPack communications. Communications from KDE to the districts and third parties are emailed. It's a FactPack system message that you receive. Sometimes we've had people say they didn't get their email, they didn't get any kind of notification, and we found out that they might have been going into junk mail or clutter. So you might want to look for that. Next slide, please. Okay, creating a project in FactPack. That's the first step, is to create your project. Projects are created in FactPack from your home page, and your BG numbers are automatically assigned. When you get to your Create Project, you want to put in your title. You want to highlight that new project and all the numbers, and then put in a real good title for us. It helps you and us going forward. Next page, please. Okay, and then the next thing, you'll select your construction delivery method. Also at this point, you can select a third-party group. Now your third-party group can be selected now, or you can do it anytime during the project. FactPack also defaults your appropriate procurement measure. You don't have to worry about adding that anymore. And then after your project is created, you'll click on Create BG1, and that'll start your BG1. Next page, please. Now, if it's an emergency project, you'll enter all your BG1 information in, but there's also a few extra things for emergency. You'll need to give us your board order declaring the emergency, and that'll be attached to your BG1 also. Next slide, please. Okay, for your normal BG1, if it's not an emergency, and hopefully it isn't, FactPack will default your project title, your BG number, your construction delivery method, and your procurement information into your BG1. Then you'll need to select your project type. And you want to make sure you select everything correctly. And you select all that apply. Next slide, please. Okay, then, and this is really important, your DFP priority and your inventory. We've had to return so many because we didn't have these items selected. So please make sure you enter these. Just click on the select and they'll pop up a drop down for you. Pick what you need and then save. Then after you select your DFP priorities and your inventory, you'll enter your scope. And on the scope, the more information you give to KDE, the better we can help you. Next slide, please. Then we enter our costs. And as always, your cost and your funds, your total cost and your total funds have to equal. There's also a box for your construction contingency. Now it has to be a minimum of 5%. There are a few instances where construction contingency is not required. You'll get a big old red box and it says, oh, you got to put that in there. It will let you submit it without a contingency if it's not required in those few instances. Next slide, please. And then we have our funds. SFCC funds are to be used for the highest DFP priority projects, and we do need SFCC permission to use those funds. Now, capital funds requests, if they're needed, we will let you know. So submit your BG1. If capital fund request is needed, we'll send it back incomplete saying we need it. At this point, you can submit that information to Jana Cox. We've had many cases where people try to do it ahead of time and it's not always required, so this just saves everybody some work. And as always, our funds and our costs have to equal. Next slide, please. Now, if residual funds are to be used, you'll need to complete the residual fund box. After you do a BG5, that information is saved for your district. So you select that box, you'll select the BG number, the correct fund source, and the amount. Projects must be closed with the BG5 before you can use residual funds. And they have the same restrictions as any restricted fund source. And if they're SFCC, the district must request SFC approval for use also. Next slide, please. And then we have an other available funds box. Examples would be your school security funds, your ESSER funds, external partnerships. Make sure you put in description and the amount, and then attach any needed documentation. And next slide, please. Okay, and then our signature page. And please remember to have everybody to sign and date. We do have to return things when they're not signed. Next slide, please. Okay, submitting the BG1 to KDE. Okay, after you get everything in, you'll save it, you'll print it, you'll get it signed, then that signed copy is saved as a PDF and it's attached to your online BG1. We need the whole BG1 submitted into us. If we don't have that information, we do have to return them, and believe me, we don't like doing it any more than you like getting them. Next slide, please. Okay, some do's. You want to make sure your project's appropriately titled, you've got an applicable item correctly identified, your DFP priority and facilities are listed, your fund source are correct, your total costs and total funds agree, and that the complete BG1 is attached and signed by all parties. Next slide, please. Okay, don't use any old BG1 forms. They're outdated, they don't match FactPack, so please just use the new ones. And don't round costs, we take it down to the penny. And don't submit your construction documents until after your initial BG1 has been approved by KDE. Next slide, please. Okay, future training sessions. We're going to be talking about the checklist, document submissions during design phases, post-bid revised BG1s, submissions during the construction phase, your BG4, which closes out your construction documents, and your BG5, which closes out the whole project, and then site acquisitions. Next slide, please. And now I'll turn it over to Greg.
Thanks very much. We've got 4 staff architects in the branch besides myself, and each one is assigned approximately 1/4 of the 171 districts. Denise is our FactPack administrator, and she's been with us through the development of FactPack and its implementation July 1 of 2017. Unfortunately for us, Denise is retiring at the end of June. We're going to hate to see her go, but we wish her the best. The other folks in the branch or in the division that are involved, next slide please, are our 4 staff architects that I just mentioned: James Bauman, John Gilbert, Marcus Highland, and Gary Least. Next slide, please. Jeff Coulter, although not technically in district facilities branch, is an education financial analyst. And in the fact pack review process, he is the first person to receive a BG1. He reviews it to make sure that, the funds are available. And once he does that and does some other checks, it's forwarded to one of the 4 project managers who review it for appropriateness and other issues. And somewhere in the line, Denise reviews them for completeness and makes sure that all the attachments are correct and that kind of thing before it's sent to me for my approval. We meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 o'clock every week, to review BG1 project applications. We do it for a variety of reasons. One, try to make sure that everybody does it the same way. And 2, to discuss any issues that are unusual that, we want to try to arrive at a consensus. And after I take action, I will either approve it or send it back to the district incomplete. And that's where it's important to make sure that you look for that fact pack notification. In the fact pack system, we're able to track the status of all submittals, when they're created, when they're submitted, when they're reviewed, and when they're passed along in the review process. For those BG1s that are approved, they move on to Che, who spoke earlier, for his approval. And when they are approved, there's a checklist and a tiering level that is assigned and that's returned at that time. We'll get into the checklist and the tiering in a future training session. We focus primarily today on content, completeness and accuracy. And we'll try to take any questions that you've got, and if we can't answer them today, we'll try to address them in future training sessions. So let's see, I guess next slide, please. So we'll take questions for the next 30 minutes or so. If Jody, what do we got?
Okay, we had 2 questions asked specifically about the availability of this presentation. And I just wanted to reiterate for people that a recording of the presentation will be made available after closed captioning is added and will be posted to the KDE Facilities website. As far as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that was used for this training, that will be emailed to the list of invitees for this training. In regard to specific questions on training content, Greg, we have a question that asks, can you give an example of projects that a contingency would not be required?
Yes. Typically, guaranteed energy savings projects don't have a contingency. And some of the projects that use school security funds have become a little bit problematic in dealing with contingency. I'll let Denise also weigh in on that question if you'd like to, Denise.
That covered it. Another time contingency is not required. When you're doing a BG1, a revised BG1 at the very end of the project, and you know all the costs and everything, at that point it wouldn't be required. Pretty much every other time it is required. Okay.
Well, I've been advised that I skipped over a couple of slides. I think they were 10 and 11, Oksana, if you could go back to those. Okay, when is a BG1 not required? This gets a little dicey. For projects that utilize unrestricted fund sources and do not address the need on a current DFP and meet the definition of repair and maintenance, which are found in KRS 322 and 323 as well, or do not affect the model program spaces in the building. We strongly recommend that if you have any questions about when a DFP is required or not required, or about the fund sources that you're proposing to use for a project, that you contact one of our 4 guys that we've identified. Their contact information is in the PowerPoint. It's on our webpage by district. How do we use BG1s? Well, I said earlier that BG1s and DFPs are joined at the hip. And one of the things that we do every 2 years, required by the legislature, is to provide a unmet need report prior to the budget session that occurs in the even numbered years. So when you submit a BG1 that addresses need, at the end of the odd numbered budget years, that need is subtracted from the DFP to create what we call the adjusted need. And then another branch at KDE determines what local available revenue the district has and subtracts that local available revenue from the need to identify the district's unmet need. And that's used in by SFCC to determine a district's SFCC offer of assistance based on the amount of money that the legislature provides during that budget session. We also use it to generate a great deal of reports that come from a variety of sources, primarily the LRC and the legislature. But because FactPack provides a live database, it does give us the ability to run a wide variety of reports that we've used for the annual efficient school design or energy report that we do every year, and other things. So sorry I missed those 2. I would like to say again that, you know, if you got questions, call us. It's better to call us and do something, we have to return it. Jody, have any other questions come in the interim?
Yes, sir. So the next question we have is, will there still be someone like Denise that can help us with the system? And I realize that it's your responsibility to answer these questions, but I would like to add personally that there is no one like Denise, but I'll let you answer this question.
Yes, unfortunately, in addition to being our FactPack administrator, Denise wears a lot of hats. I've described her as the glue that holds us together, and that's why we're hating to see her go so much. But we will have someone in place, we think, for about a month, so that they can receive as much training as possible, and we hope there won't be a huge drop off in our service.
Right.
I will tell everybody that, you know, the stuff that she shows you, you know, we don't see on KDE side. You know, the stuff on the user side, we're not well equipped to address. So it's going to be very important to have that person up and running as quickly as possible. Any more questions?
Yes, sir. The next question that we have is for Denise, and it's something that she covered in the presentation but may have been missed. So is there a FactPack manual available, was the question.
Yes, there is. The FactPack homepage, there's the user guide. We tried to be really detailed in all the information on that, but feel free to give me a call if anything's not clear.
Okay. The next question that we have is, when doing a BG5, how is the interest earned on the project recorded?
I'm going to defer. I was hoping Jeff would be on here. I don't see him. We'll have to put that on the frequently asked questions.
We will do that. Okay, so the next question that we have is, if you have several projects, some that use SFCC funds and some that do not, we need a separate BG1 for each project?
You know, we'd have to look at that on a case-by-case basis. You know, the intent is that the SFCC funds be utilized for the amount be used for a project in the highest priority. But we see frequently projects that have a variety of different fund sources, and we just try to see that they're, you know, allocated correctly.
Okay. The next question that we have is, I noticed that our district has aged projects on FactPack, but some records cannot be located and/or cannot be balanced back to complete the BG5. Do you have any recommendations on how we can get these projects closed out?
Yes, and this is another case-by-case issue. Give me a call. We'll look at what's needed, and we'll assist you in any way we can with getting the information into FactPack and get the project closed out.
Okay, Greg, at this time, we don't have any more pending questions. If you want to give people a few moments to ask any questions that they may have, we can do that. Or if you're ready to wrap up the training session, we can do that.
We'll give a few more minutes, but, you know, while someone might be typing a question, I want to thank everybody for their attendance, and we do look forward to meeting with you again next month, and we'll try to determine what the best subject is. If you would let us know, we'll try to, you know, develop a presentation that addresses those questions. You know, my intent was that the next session would be primarily related to post-bid BG1s, since we've started conversation about BG1s, and there's a real sort of tipping point when a project's bid related to information that goes into FactPack. So we'll receive questions and comments and determine if that's appropriate or not.
So we have a comment here, more so than a question. Someone indicates that this was a much needed overview of FactPack, and I would love to see more of this type of training. And they're appreciative of this session.
Well, we intend to try to do this monthly. As everybody knows, we're in what I call DFP season, so everybody's going to be really busy trying to get DFPs done between now and June, or in this case, maybe August. But yeah, let us know what you want to be future training topics, and we'll be happy to address them.
I think there's another question there, Greg, and I'll get this one, Jody, and ask it anyway because I just saw it. Would replacing a playground require a BG1?
Well, it sort of depends on fund source. You know, if you're using general funds at the playground, probably not. You know, one of the issues that we end up with frequently is, by statute, districts are to advertise and bid any capital construction project over $7,500. And I don't remember the date of that statute, but in today's dollars, that's a pretty low bar to have to meet. So we addressed playgrounds in 702 KER 4:170. They are to meet the requirements of the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission requirements, and Greg says that we have them and they're available, but they're also online. The most current version is. So if you're using general funds, I'm going to say no. But if it shows up for some reason on your DFP, then yes. So whoever.
And I think, not to interrupt you, Greg, I'm sorry, I want to mention that too, that one of the easiest things to remember about when a BG1 is needed, and Greg's kind of beat this into my head finally, that if it's on your DFP, then a BG1 is very highly likely needed. That's just kind of the rule of thumb. And if it's not on your DFP, you know, it's still questionable if a BG is needed. And it gets into fund source, gets into if you need a design professional and things like that. So when in doubt, reach out to your architects to make sure so you don't misstep on that. But there's now more questions. Are these training sessions shared with architects as well? Yes, we sent the invites out through FactPac's contact list. So they're reaching I think a lot of people. And I'm sure some of the people on this call are not just with the school districts, almost certain of it.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, Jay. I'm going to defer to Oksana.
Okay.
She did the list, but here's what is contained in the slides, but I'm not sure that it was stated. FactPac is set up deliberately so that only districts can initiate and close a project. So we were primarily focusing on initiating a project today, and we will include third parties, including architects, engineers, physical agents, construction managers in future projects, particularly related to the topic I was talking about, which is a post-bid revised BG1. Any more questions?
Yes, we have a few more comments. So someone indicated that they would love to hear more, have more training on BG4 and BG5 processes, the how-tos of those things. We've had other people indicate that this training was very helpful. A specific question is, on an athletic field or parking lot lighting project, is it required to have an architect, or can you work directly with the lighting company? And I think maybe these are more specific, project-specific questions that you may want to defer and have someone contact their KDE project manager, or you can address it in a general manner here.
Yes, I'd really like that, because, you know, parking lots, particularly if it's just a resurfacing, not necessarily. But once you get into regrading and drainage issues, then yes. But again, reach out to your staff architect assigned to your district.
Okay, I think at this point that is all of the questions, but we're getting more comments on how appreciated this training is and how very much it's needed, given the importance of the work that you guys do. But at this time, there are no more questions. Oh, wait, are there any kind of BGs that don't need an architect?
Well, you'd have to go back to the slides, because any one of those things can trigger BG1. And one we just talked about was, you know, like just surfacing a parking lot. might not require a design professional, but you know, you're still going to fall into the trap of that $7,500 threshold. And how are you going to get competitive bids, and who's going to do your specifications and that kind of thing.
Okay. We are just receiving more comments about the effectiveness of the content of this training, but at this time, Greg, I do not see any more questions.
Well, thank you, and I want to express appreciation to my team, to Jody, Oksana, who is our project manager for KFIX, has stepped up and assisted us, and for all of you spending your morning with us. And thank you, and at this time, I guess we'll adjourn.